Brakta Yahweh, 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 Brakta Yahweh. Give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, 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 God. The one sponsors great meal, so I say all the Akims and Aquas pushing the truth. Yokanah coming in, Yokanah coming in. And just responding to Joe Brown and his false allegations of the Hebrew Israelites, because he one of those old guards that's making sure he keep his master house. And he did a hell of a job. So we're going to go back with one of his contemporaries, Dr. Clark Anderson, doctor, who wrote the book, Black Labor, White Wealth. Here you go, Dr. Clark Anderson, just in case y'all need to look him up. Very astute man, very educational. So look him up, because he's going to spill the beans on Joe Brown. So let's go to the Black Jewish Alliance. Get this book, only $21. You got to hear that hogwash Joe Brown talking. So let's go and see what happened. So the Black Jewish Alliance. Let's go 1920. In the 1920s, 1930s, black returned to favor by allying with Jews against religious bigotry and oppression. The alliance benefited each group and represented a common front against some common conservative enemies. See, Esau's our enemy. As the scriptures told us that we shall be sold into our enemies. It's Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord thou God shall bring to Egypt again with ships by the way wherein I spake unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again. And there, in your homeland, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. The alliance ultimately gave blacks access to high levels of government and the corporate world in return for Jewish support. Blacks gave Jews, Carter, pay attention, balanced access to every aspect of black society. So our leaders already saw that. Jews established neighborhood businesses that survived strictly off of black customers. And that's Lazarus. That's the parable of Lazarus sitting at the gate of the rich man and the dogs licking the sores. They advised black leaders on public policy matters. See that? So that's the reason why all these policies have been given to, which we're going to let it say itself. Jews also built entire industries around resources that black control or own, such as sports, entertainment, and music. And see, that's the curse of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 28 and 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. See that? So you blacks, last Native Americans, you have lived that. So let's keep going. It said 1940 Jews used their newfound mobility to secure wealth and power for themselves. See that? The Zionist Jews, Amalekite. However, a decade after the 1954 desegregation decision of the Civil Rights Movement, not only had black Americans' social economic dilemma not been resolved, it was getting worse. See that? By the mid-1960s, religious attitudes and social economics had significantly changed for Jews in America. They have become the wealthiest and most influential political group in the nation. Now, how is that if they the Jews and they supposed to carry the curses? See that? Because Deuteronomy 28 and 54 go, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and thou shalt pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearken not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and statutes which he commanded this day. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and gladness of heart and the abundance of things. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and their nakedness and their want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he destroy thee. And that's your black African Americans. If you go pull up yoke of iron around a man's neck, it's not finna come up no Jews. Yoke of iron around a man's neck. Yoke of iron around a man's neck. Who come up? Zionist Jews don't come up. See that? Who is that? Judah, African American. See that? That's our story. That's the tribe of Judah. Right out the scriptures. That didn't happen to no Zionist Jews. So for Joe Brown to come with this, they Aryan, and I'm gonna let him explain. That's a bunch of bullshit. And you see how for him to go from being a scholar, from being a judge, to have went to law school, got a bar association, all that, and to bust you down to, I'm gonna let him explain his theory. Like, that was ridiculous. By the mid 1960s, religious attitudes, okay. Most influential group in the nation, they have access into the dominant society, which particularly unlimited mobility opportunities. See that? So they got all opportunities in the world. According to T.W. Smith in a 1990 article entitled Jews' Attitude Towards Black and Race Relation, published in the American Jewish Committee Jewish Social Paper, Smith wrote that both Jews and blacks encounter government involvement to improve their lives of the social disadvantage through progressive measures such as the New Deal policy. It says Smith reports that today, majority of Jews do not favor government measures to help blacks, more government spending for blacks, or the use of busing to achieve school integration. In response to the specific question, does the government have a special obligation to improve blacks' living standards? More than 46% of Jews were opposed, and 26% were either neutral or undecided. See that? But that's cool though. Because what do Revelation 2:9, 3:9 say? Revelation 2:9. I know thou works in tribulation and poverty. See that? The blacks, blacks, and Native Americans, we in poverty. But that's cool because that was the curse. But thou art rich because we are the Israelites. And I know the blacks and them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. See that? So, hey, yeah, we understand. Government concern. Okay, so now let's go into, to wrap this up, the death of the Black Civil Rights Movement. For everyone but the caretaker of the old Black Civil Rights Organization, the Civil Rights Movement for blacks is dead. Civil rights for blacks had a brief life for a second time within a 100-year period, reached a point of diminishing return, then died a permanent death during the late 1960s. All of the rights gained by the Civil Rights Movement have been banqueted to groups that are more acceptable to a large society: women, gays, Hispanic, Asians, handicaps, and poor whites. The first Black civil rights effort formally started shortly after the Civil War, as slaves realized that they had received paper freedom and inexchangeable rights. For nearly a century, they pursued their phantom freedom and rights nationally by way of public forums, courtrooms, schoolhouses, union halls, and journalism. And we seen that. That's where the civil rights get that movement from. It said in the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education desegregation decision, black won a battle, but the decision has incalculable destruction effects on the black community. During the subsequent civil rights protest period, blacks simulated a rush of new social movement by the melee of social groups which piggyback on black causes in their own quest for rights and freedom. See that? So that's how they got to us to undermine everything we had going. This offered a large society in general and gave conservative groups the ostrate a backlash. Since blacks were the largest, most visible, and least acceptable group, they became a permanent target of conservative angst. Conservative mean to conserve. You Edomites, you white. Conservative, y'all conservative, the stolen land that y'all ancestors gave y'all. The moment was drowned out by a new group and outflanked by the conservatives. In the heat, see, meaning to conserve what y'all got. In the heat of various civil rights battle for control over jobs, school, housing, community service, businesses, and tax dollars, black leaders ran out of insight, social tools, and strategies for effectively dealing with more stable and less direct forms of race that cropped up. As the other groups began to take away from blacks' control of the civil rights agenda, conservative political forces started using their government and media power to diminish the black compound of the civil rights movement. They successfully destroyed the legitimate base of the black movement by delegating the movement beyond recognition. And how did they do that? They did that through the demonization of another book I got called Black Demon, where by Dennis Rome, which they use to portray your gangbangers, your cop shows, and those Boys to Hood movies to put a stench on Judah that they was these criminals, and not just coming out of the civil rights movement, coming from a war, going into Vietnam, that they supposed to have got things from the GI Bill and so forth. See, so you went from being a hard-working family man, orientated man, to being a thug, criminal. Now you just YM. YN, or whatever they call the girls thing. But thanks to guys like Joe Brown, because it's finna tell you what else happened. It say they identified each group that could possibly perceive itself as aggressive and made it equal to black. Thus, the public perception of blacks was severely damaged and distorted. I just went over that. It said the unique problem that they faced were made to appear no more important than the problems faced by others. See that? Oh, white people have them problems, even though they never went through cattle slavery. You can't say the Latins, because the blacks, Latins, Native Americans, we all went through cattle slavery. But it show you how they made them important and made Judah the third-class citizen, which was done by design. It said, thus the problem perceived of blacks was several damaged and distorted. The unique problem was faced were made to appear no more important than the problem faced by other so-called victims of discrimination. The black civil rights movement, through speculative successful in many aspects, had the last four major flaws. What was the last major flaws? Let's get it. The moment black leaders focused its entire weight of resources in achieving integration, they believed perhaps narrowly they'd be removing all the symbols of Jim Crow and acquiring access to various segments of white society. Black people would gain equality, which we know they ain't let you in your schools, they ain't let you in your jobs. Look at the percentage of the CEOs and ratio. Black leaders failed to focus on neutralizing the force behind Jim Crow or developing effective strategies for black Americans to use and deal with the problems that spring forth from the misdistributing and racial control of wealth, power, and resource in America. They failed to develop a long-term national plan with goals and strategies spelling out where blacks ought to go and how best to get there. In addition, black leaders failed to construct a national network of institutions to train new generation of blacks who could successfully assume leadership position and implement a national plan for black empowerment. And we know why they couldn't do that. Because you got a sellout Boule Society group that Esau created. The combined effort of those four major failures left the black civil rights movement with no place to go, no way to get there, and no leaders to take them. It's a few visible black organizations managed to survive by becoming political correct and expanding their force to include so-called minorities, poor people, gays, women, and abused children. See that? Switched the whole up. They could not survive, and that's the queen of heaven. And a powerful conservative, meaning white conservative whites have, climate by continuing to target the problem of blacks alone. See that? So, hey, you can forget about yourself. Although black condition continues to need attention, most black organizations could not raise enough money to survive by focusing slowly upon their own people. See that? You can't focus on your people. And that's why Joe Brown said, you know what, they played them games and then, okay, fuck it, we just black. It said the surviving black organization remains visible to continue the pursuit of integrate dream. See that? It would not have been successful for a black organization to abandon their own community if the civil rights movement had established a sense of community cohesiveness founded on groups, economics, and group policies. See that? So that whole dream that Martin Luther King had that y'all kept perpetuating was a bunch of bullshit. Just let me get it. This Jeremiah 23 and 25. I have heard what the prophet said that prophesied lies in my name, saying, I have a dream, I have a dream. And that's exactly what Martin Luther King did, and with him being a Baptist preacher, and the rest of y'all picked that up too. I'm talking about Joe Brown, Jesse Jackson, and all your civil rights movement leaders. How long shall this be in the heart of the prophet that prophesied lies? Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart. And that's what Joe Brown exhibited. Joe Brown exhibited that. That he a prophet of his own heart. Which I'm going to let him testify. Because that's exactly what you see. A man telling you what they was going to do. And how they was going to go about doing it. And then tried to justify it. I'm going to let him speak.
Some comments about black Hebrews, right? Could you delve deeper into that, please?
Look, one of the primary staples of propaganda is to get people to misidentify and identify with mythological entities. And I have nothing against Jews.
See, mythological entity. So he's basically telling you that Yahushua, aka who y'all know as Christ, Moses, Aaron, King David, King Solomon, never existed. You heard it from his mouth. Mythological entity.
One of my agents was a Jew. He was an interesting guy. He was part Puerto Rican and part Chinese and got adopted by a Jewish family. All right. He called himself a mutt.
Amalekites.
But black folk running around trying to claim they're the original Jews, it's like, why are you doing that? And what is your purpose? And my analysis is they want something to identify with. Urge to identify. It's like the Nazis did this too. Aryan Supermen. Who are the Aryans? Aryans exist. Technically, they're called Indo-Aryans. I-N-D-O hyphen Aryan.
Oh yeah, just correct the old slave dog. No, that's Elam. The people from India are Elamites from the Bible. They not no fucking Aryan Aaron that Esau taught your black stupid ass. Just like he taught you and you perpetuate that we was black.
See them all the time. Kamala Harris was an Indo-Aryan.
No,
That's
she's
what
not.
most Hindu
Yeah,
are,
Elam.
Aryans. They're from India. They did have something anciently to do with
That don't
Germany,
exist
but
in
they
the Bible.
certainly weren't blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Ecologically, what you're telling me is you are ashamed of what you really are, so you're trying to figure out something else you can identify with to escape the onus of being what you are. See, I'm black and I'm proud. We worked hard at that because there had been so much in American culture to make black folk ashamed of what they were. We came up with the thing black. No colored, no Negro. You're black. Negro means black. So damn it, just accept it. You're black. Negro means black. So damn it, just accept it.
And you heard him, right? He's just gonna force down your throat what you is, and you just gonna accept it. And they thought that they was gonna be able to keep that going. Oop. I wish I was not having that shit. Let's get that Malachi, because this what they doing. This Malachi. Micah. This what he doing. And he gonna force it down your throat. This Ezekiel 11. Let's do that Ezekiel first. Good try, though, man. This Ezekiel 11:11. It said, "This city shall not be your cauldron, neither shall you be the flesh in the midst thereof. But I will judge you in the border of Israel, and you shall know that I am the Lord, for you have not walked in my statutes, neither executed my judgment, but have done after the manner of the heathens that are round about you." And see, Joe Brown testified that he did work on it. So this Micah 3:1. "And I say, hear, I pray you, O heads of Jacob, and ye princes of the house of Israel. Is it not for you to know judgment? Who hate the good and love the evil." See that? He loved the evil. That's why he said, no, just accept what America telling you. God damn it. "Who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off the skin from off them, and their flesh from off their bones." And that's Joe Brown, them trying to strip, him and Jesse Jackson, them trying to strip the knowledge from us. It said, "Who also eat the flesh of my people, and flay their skins for off them, and they break their bones, and chop them in pieces for the pot, and that's the flesh in the cauldron." See that? They a partaker in converting us to being these Afro-Americans, blacks, niggas, Negroes, youngins right now. He's a part of that testimony. Why? Because, what is it? Let me get this. This is why. Boy, these guys, something else. This St. John 11:45. "Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and seen the things which Yahweh did believed on him. But some of them went their way to the Pharisees and told them the things Yahweh had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees at council and said, What do we? For this man does many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nations. And one of them, named Caiaphas, began the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he of not himself, but being the high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also he should gather together in one the children of God that was scattered abroad. See that? Talking about you Israelites over here. And we are gathered together. Then from that day they took counsel together to put him to death. So it's always been a death sentence about what we are part of, Akims, and what we doing. And these Edomites, they know what's going on. And Joe Brown and all these guys are partakers in the evil deeds of doing this. So we got to just keep doing what we doing, because Yahweh shall waking his nation up, and he on his way back through the prophecies and the signs. RFID chip, World War III.
You're black. Negro means black. So damn it, just accept it. So we went that way, and then somebody came up with Afro-American, and then went back to Black American, and then we went to African American, and then Jesse Jackson in the late 70s seized on that. He didn't invent it, but it is I'm black and I'm proud. And now you have people, instead of saying I'm black and I'm proud, Ungawa, black power, you get, I'm ashamed of what I am, I have to be something else. You'll hear various revisions on who founded the NAACP. But as the NAACP toots and have for the last 60-some years that I have been intimately aware of, the purpose of the NAACP was this: Jewish folk were catching hell in America. So if you use the Negro, colored people, as a foil, if you couldn't do it to a Negro, you couldn't do it to a Jew. So the civil rights thing helped out the Jewish community immensely. And they have insinuated themselves greatly in the most powerful English prime minister. He was born a Jew, but he converted to Christianity. And since the thing is Christ was a Jew.
See, now he'll give us all that rambo-jumbo information, which I just read, that yes, they have assimilated, thanks to y'all leaders, which was passed down to y'all, that they have been the heads of everything about our nation. So this goes all the way back to the 20s and 30s. So they didn't just get rap and sports. No, anything that y'all was going to be a part of, your leaders already gave it to them in the 30s. I read that earlier. Now let's go to the conclusion of what's happening. Oh, nope. Let's finish this, because this is talking about Joe Brown on what happened. It's a few visible black organizations managed to survive, become popular, correct, to expand their force to include so-called minorities, poor people, gays, white women, and abused children. They could not survive in a powerful conservative climate to continue to target problem of blacks alone. Although black condition continues to get attention, most black organizations could not raise enough money to survive by focusing slowly upon their own people. The surviving black organizations remain visible by continuing to pursue the integrating dream. Right. It would not have been necessary for a black organization to abandon their own communities if the civil rights movement have established a sense of community cohesiveness founded on groups, economics, and group policy. But we know that the scripture told you that the whole Martin Luther King thing was a lie. The National Urban League and the NAACP are still active, but they have lost much of their influence and memberships. The Student Non-Voiceless Coordinator Committee, SNCC, which I never heard of, and the Black Panther parties are defected. The Congress of Racial Equality joined the conservative ranks of the National Political Party, and the Southern Christian Leadership Conservative barely survived, which that's a number white supremacy. This national political apparent disabled many of the civil rights group by destroying or neutralizing black leaders. Adam Clayton Power and Stokely Carmichael were discredited. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers was assassinated. Rap Brown, Edgar Cleaver, Angela Davis, and prominent members of the Black Panthers was criminalized. And that's why when it comes to this Israelite thing, let's say this. See that? Okay, that's the only thing they can't mess with. This Acts 5:38. It's Acts 5:38. It said, "And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or if this work be of man, it will come to nothing. But if it be of God, you cannot overthrow it. Least haply you found to even to fight against God." See that? And so Joe Brown with his Johnny Come Late. Oh, this is what happened. So how do you feel about the Hebrew Israelites? They're gonna make all you blacks, Latins, and Native Americans in one form or fashion say something against the Hebrew Israelites, because you can't fight against this. You fight against Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah, and you and Esau and y'all propaganda is over with. See that? Because Yahweh Shah said that he gonna do what? Hold on, let me get this one. This 2 Thessalonians 2:8. "And then shall that wicked be revealed, who the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and destroy with the brightness of his coming." And what's the spirit of the Lord's mouth? These prophecies coming out. See that? That Acts got spirit on his handmaids and maids. But okay, let's go to the conclusion. Oh, no. Let's finish some more of this. See why Joe Brown talking. "Many of the others were enticed into mainstream society." See that? So the ones of y'all black sellouts who weren't killed, neutralized, or given criminal charges, this what happened to y'all. Like Joe Brown, for instance. Now I understand why this nigga was on TV, how he became a judge. They put him on TV, and he just lived a celebrity rock life. That's why he said, "Oh, I know Kamala. Yeah, she all around the law schools. Yeah, we all know her." Right, because y'all always at them sorority parties. Y'all all a part of them Sigma Pi Delta Alpha, and y'all got to pay for that. And I got a scripture for y'all ass too, and these Edomites. It say, "Many of the others were enticed into mainstream society. Consequently, the large block of black leaders were indicated, charged, or disappeared." See that? Disappeared. That's why Joe Brown took his ass on TV. After just one generation. I was born 79, Joe Brown. That's why your ass was on TV. Following the great movement, having left little structure upon which blacks could build. Instead, that colorful era only left fade memories and soul-stirring songs. And that y'all used to say that all through the 80s and 90s. "I remember in the 70s and we used to..." And y'all used to walk us through all them years. All the 90s and the 2000s of all the crime and everything that Esau was doing, y'all was justifying. And the church was neutral, because that's white supremacy. The void created by the death of black civil rights represent the opportunity for a class of black non-conservatives to join the popular white conservative movement and proclaim themselves in their new organization, the New Black Leadership. And you see that. You actually see that. They all on TV. They tell you they openly Republican, they openly conservative, which means to conserve white people's shit. It said they were publicly blessed by the highest level of government in corporate America. They on TV, Van Jones, all of them. What's the fat nigga name? Damn, I forgot his name. He was arguing with Umar Johnson. Rolling. That's why he on TV. It said they were publicly blessed by the highest level of government in corporate America, and they offer black American political and economic ideologies that were taken right from the conservative right-wing policy Bible. And that's what y'all been pushing for these last 50 years with all these forms, with all this black this, black that. It's their political correction ideology advocate less government and taxes. See that? Less government and taxes, so people can do what they want to do to the trodden down. See that? Less government taxes. We don't have any money to pay taxes. That's for them rich Edomites. Free market economics, right. Now they can do what they want to do again. Privatization of government service and race-neutral government policies. Black traditional leadership, like the black masses, was ignored by government and media, except during times of racial disturbances or anniversaries of a movement. That's the only time. Symbolism, that's what they call that. Or a Joe Brown, or what's the guy name? Or anytime somebody get killed, then you need to disturb it. But let's go to the conclusion. The problem of race and resource has been fasting for hundreds of years, but has yet to arise of the core public issue in America. Whites have inherited the power of wealth of their ancestors through the social and economic structure designed and weighed to the advantage of non-blacks. So let's get that. Let's get that. Because that's the conclusion. That's the conclusion. So let's hit this conclusion. All right, 41. Ecclesiastes 41 and 5. The children of sinners are abominable children. See that? You Edomites. And they that are conversed in the dwellings of the ungodly, the inheritance of sinners, because you see what they inherited. What did they inherit? Wealth. The whites have inherited the power of wealth and the ancestry through the social and economic structure. It say, the inheritance of sinners' children shall pick. The children of sinners are abominable children, and they that converse in the dwellings of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, for their prosperity shall have a perpetual reproach. See that? The way they went about getting this place, conserving it and keeping it, have a perpetual reproach, because you did it with the oppression of everybody else. It said, woe. It said the children will. It's a perpetual reproach. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake. And see all the facts coming out on you, Edomite. Woe be unto you, ungodly man, which have forsaken the law of the Most High God. For if you increase, it shall be to your destruction. And if you be born, you shall be born to a curse, you Edomites. And if you die, a curse shall be your portion. It said, all that are of the earth shall turn to the earth again, so the ungodly shall go from a curse to destruction. Let's get that Jeremiah. Because y'all Edomites ain't getting away with this. Joe Brown can talk all that little bullshit he wants to. That shit is not finna help y'all. And it didn't help. Ain't do nothing but have lessons like this come out. This Jeremiah 16:19. This Jeremiah 16. Jeremiah 16 and 19. It say, O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things therein there is no profit. Shall a man make God unto himself, and they are no gods? And you seeing that, everybody understanding like what's happening. Now let's go to the black experience. It say, and it show you how is this about Esau and Jacob. It ain't about no other nations or none of that. And Jacob consists of the blacks, Latins, and Native Americans. It said blacks have inherited a legacy of permanent poverty. No, not just us, the blacks, Latins, and Native Americans. That's at Deuteronomy 28 chapter. Told that all of us was going to have that done to us. Blacks have inherited a legacy of permanent poverty and powerlessness. Black labor made the nation strong, wealthy, international world power, but nothing has been proposed to seriously bring about reimagine parlance of fairness to black people. It is clear that blacks must both solve their own problems and structure a nation plan for action that put their priorities first and foremost. Self-empowerment is the only road to economic justice, but it requires the support of a national policy and plan of action. So let's get our national plan of action. Let's get our plan of action. Because we know y'all ain't. this real quick. KJV arraignment shall come back. KJV arraignment shall not lean upon him that smote them. I knew I wasn't going to bring it up. But hold on, I can find it. It's been a minute since I used that. It's locky on there. My shit ain't scripted. I don't know why. I don't know why I keep saying. I got one right there. I can use. But you know, you had that one argument that you want. I might have to go with. Yeah. KJV and arraignment shall not stay upon him. Yeah, Isaiah 10 and 20. I knew I passed that. It's Isaiah 10 and 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that the raiment of Israel and such I escape of the house of Jacob, escape what? All the lies of Esau and all these fake ass niggas out there, shall no more again stay upon them that smote them, but they shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. See, that's what we about. We don't hear that Joe Brown shit. The raiment shall return, even the raiment of Jacob, unto the mighty God. For though our people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a raiment of them shall return. The consumption decree shall overflow with righteousness. For the Lord God of hosts shall make a consumption, even determination, in the midst of all the land. And with that, shalom. So watch that nigga Joe Brown.